There are so many things that come to mind when a player hears Dungeons and Dragons 3.5. Usually it's, oh man, it's so imbalanced, and yeah, it is. Fighters have little in the way to defend against high-level casters were onto gods at higher levels, and monsters and encounters at higher levels were some of the most complicated things to exist in Dungeons and Dragons. Don't believe me? Just look at a stat block for nearly anything over a challenge rating of 10 and has a subtype of Evil Outsider. This of course stretches into Pathfinder as well, and usually it's the Dungeon Master's fault for not looking or reading a rule right. One of the first was a character I played back when I was fresh out of high school. My friend Carl was DMing and I got to play a character for once. Lucky me! We had Carl DMing, Jim playing a half-elf thief named Norbert, another friend named AJ who played another half-elf thief, yes, diversity I know, named Dilbert, and his wife Loretta who was playing a pixie sorceress. I forgot her name, but we're not talking about her. Mostly because Carl had made a homebrew of pixies some time ago that wasn't, quote, bend the rules over your knee and spank them, unquote, OP for the situation. No, this is about my character. He was an Abixian, or a goat folk, barbarian named Ganjin. See, goat folks are pretty beastly characters and had a level adjustment of +1, meaning that as a level 1 barbarian, he was treated as a level 2 character, to break it down as simply as possible. Because of this, everyone started as a level 2 in their class, which, with how AJ rolled, was very much needed. This is probably the most ridiculous idea though, because in 3.5, most monstrous races you find in the monsters manuals, which Goatfolk came from, had what was known as racial class levels. These were hit dice monsters had for simply existing. Anything that didn't have a class pretty much had them. Bugbears, ogres, gnolls, centaurs, anything that was big, tough, and didn't need a class to rip your face off. They had racial class levels. Abixians had 3 levels of monstrous humanoid. This means having 3d8 more hit points, a feat, more skill points, more bonuses in saving throws, and all that other stuff. So this means that while everyone else was level 2, and we thought Ganjin counted as a level 2, he was more like level 5. We really didn't know this, and Carl said that it was cool and pretty much figured the +1 level adjustment was meant for those racial hit die levels. Sure, Carl. That's how that works. Even told him I'd play without the racial class levels, and he was just like, it's alright, we'll work it out. Nothing touched me. And not even because I was a barbarian, because I had about 25 more hit points than everyone else. When Dilbert nearly died in an arrow trap, Ganjin just kinda casually walked right through the rain of arrows, picked up the near-dead thief all casual-like, and walked out the other side of the trap. When he was nearly hit by a guillotine trap, he just snapped the blade off the trap and used it like a great axe. When Carl forgot that he had a headbutt attack as well, and Carl had him pinned down and had this spellcaster of the dungeon loom over Ganjin all mocking like, it was a single rage and a critical headbutt that splattered the dude's brains all over the goatfolk. By sessions in, Carl was looking at the character and asking, so, about those racial hit dice you have there. Another one of these characters is from a good friend of mine, Jess, or Pinky, as I like to call her. When I convinced her to move to California some time ago, she joined my gaming group of Andrew, Kelsey, and one other guy I honestly forget because it's been like 7 years since I've spoken to him. I'm sorry I don't remember you guys. Anyways, so Andrew played a human paladin of freedom. Kelsey played a half-elf rogue. Other guy played some guts-like barbarian. And Pinky played an elven ranger named Sushi. She was more or less basing her off a character she made based in the world of ElfQuest, which is this massive world in comic form, and while I've read very little of it, it is pretty damn awesome. Good story, good characters, go and read it. Anyways, this was during Pathfinder, and I had this silly house rule. Still have this silly house rule, really. We use 46, drop the lowest, reroll ones, and I let players roll 3 sets of ability scores. most enjoyed it, let them choose how to make their characters, but the house rule itself isn't the rolling 3 sets. The house rule was that if you rolled a 4 of a kind, like 4 4s, 4 5s, whatever, then you get to keep that as the ability score, no dropping the lowest. Initially, Sushi was going to be a bowmaster with an elk companion and use a great axe as her backup when things got super up close. She rolled 4 6s, and using the house rule, that meant a 24. Okay, cool. You know what? I was fine with this. She would have put it in dexterity, got a 26 for her +2 as an elf, been all swift and rarely ever miss a shot, maybe go cold shot, and do cool range tricks in the back of combat while her elk racked up kills with its massive antlers. Would have been for an interesting and cool synergy with the other characters, being more upfront and personal. She didn't put the 24 into dexterity. She put it into strength. Her second highest roll of 16 was put into dexterity, giving her an 18 as an elf. And she still took the bow and arrow route as a ranger. Andrew was understandably somewhat annoyed at this because it was a little elf character rocking a 24 and his paladin was rocking a 16, I believe. And she didn't even take anything to take advantage of that 24 strength either. Yeah, she got a composite longbow eventually, but didn't even have anything to use that 24 effectively, like power attack, cleave, or anything. Only really took feats and abilities that upped her range game while still running into melee combat. Alright, Pinky, if you're watching this, I only have one question. Why? It was such a waste of a 24. It had put the Guts-like character to shame. Whenever we play again, and if you remake Sushi, you better use those ability scores properly. The next one belongs to my brother, Dylan. This was during those days in high school when I played with Jim and Carl, and I was trying my damnedest to get us through the world's largest dungeon as a DM. I had a DM PC, halfling favored soul, named Virai. Jim was rocking a half-elf soul blade named Zon. He was Virai's twin brother. There's a joke in there. Carl made Guile, who was a gnome illusionist who was a little bit on the crazy side, like took chaotic neutral to a new level, if you know what I mean. My brother, on the other hand, was playing a Warforged Scout. I honestly forget what he was playing as a class, though, but the Scout part of him made him small-sized. So, yeah, we were all small-sized characters. That may have been one of our most fun runs of the world's largest dungeon. Anyways, so he was played like he was not there at all. Like, when I started the campaign, I asked everyone where they wanted to start. Virai was trying to rein his brother Zon in. Zon was trying to pick up chicks. Guile was pulling pranks on bar patrons, and Lugnut, the Warforged Scout my brother played, was stuck in the dirt somewhere near where we were going to start the dungeon proper. And one of the first things that happened after being yanked out of the dirt by Virai, Zon, and Guile was Guile slapping his arcane mark on his forehead, dubbing Lugnut Guile's property. Yep. So after going into the dungeon proper and slaying several things and getting rather far, the players were given some boons from the denizens of the dungeon. Virai got a new shield, Zon got this chain weapon he was going to use like the Prince of Persia from the third Prince of Persia game? Yeah. And Guile got some sort of iron stone. Lugnut got a bag of holding. Cool. In his chest. What? Like, so there were points that we'd suddenly reach into his chest and pull out a potion, chug it, and he'd just stand there, like a fridge. At one point, Carl asked if it was refrigerated, and I think at one point I just went, you know what, sure, why not? I remember one of the antics of the party pulled off was when we needed to sneak through an area of the dungeon where some really strong monster was sleeping. And at that point, none of us were really good at stealthing. So we had Lugnut rub a potion of silence all over himself, crammed our 3 characters into his chest, and let him walk through that area, right past the monster. I really don't remember much else about that game, but we had remade the characters at some point during Pathfinder when that Psionics Unleashed book was published by Dreamsguard Press. It was a lot of Zahn trying to get laid. Virai trying to stop his brother from getting mauled by his potential monstrous mates. Guile was doing some wizarding shit that pissed off the local mages guild that got him, and thus everyone else in the party, sent on suicide missions, and sadly, no Lugnut, because my brother had moved away some time before the crew was Pathfinderified. Which is fine by me because I have some sort of personal vendetta against the Warforged. Though I do suppose this list wouldn't be complete without another one of my friends. Andrew's character, Jojen. It was sort of a legacy character. Following the campaign that he, Pinky, Kels, Mario, and for a very brief time, Link were in, I started another campaign from a Pathfinder book, The Emerald Spire. I don't know what it is, I'm a sucker for massive dungeons. And maybe one day I'll talk about how I feel about the Emerald Spire itself. Anyways, this guy is the son of Andrew's previous character, though instead of being a paladin, he was a fighter with an archetype to make his tower shield stuff awesome. I believe they were just called tower shield specialists. And boy, howdy did it. A lot of the early stuff in the Emerald Spire was simple combat stuff, goblins, undead, bandits, that kind of thing. Later on was the harder stuff, spellcasters, traps, demons, environmental hazards, that were not easy to explain or were not fully explained in the book itself. So at early levels with all the combat, when he had his tower shield, nothing could touch him. Later on that dungeon, near around level 10 plus, as long as he had his shield, nothing in the dungeon could touch him. Not even touch spells. Seriously, they have a thing to add the AC bonus of the tower shield to your AC, so I even had increased some of the threats of the dungeon, which nearly killed some of the other characters, or which were moot because low initiative and being backstabbed and charged a million times by everyone in the party. It didn't help that he had a sword of adamantine either, so constructs that once gave him a little bit of a hard time, now gave him no challenge, because toughness. Really, there just wasn't anything in the dungeon itself to give his character a challenge after a while, as long as he had something roughly tower shield-like. Eventually, he had this tower shield that I just don't even know or remember how he got it. He bought it, I guess, in the next town over from a place we used as our base of operations. I don't even know what book he found it in anymore, but it was this tower shield that he could plant down, and it would stretch suddenly 10 feet in both directions, effectively becoming an actual wall, which in a confined area gave the party plenty of time to recover a little bit and then surprise the enemy all over again. Really though, I think what did it in was the synergy he and Kelsey's character, Robin, who was this human unchained rogue, using teamwork feats that made it so when one character missed, the other would attack, or when one critical, the other would get a chance to attack. Actually, Robin was another one of those more ridiculous characters because she was just a touch min-maxed out with critical hits. Because the first thing she would buy when she could afford, or steal, it was 2 keen rapiers. Rapiers already have a crit range of 18, 19, 20. Keen doubles that. So, essentially she was critting on 15 plus. Or crit threats. I mean, it makes sense. They had the highest critical threat, and Kelsey loved when she did it because I used what it was known as the critical hit deck, brought to you by Paizo. So it wasn't always just you stab it for 2d6 damage. It was you slam your rapier all the way to the basket for 2d6 damage, and the impact knocks the orc off his feet, laying his ass on the ground prone. And because she used 2-weapon fighting, with a 25% chance of critical threating with her rapier, she would have been just as likely to hit something as Sushi was with her bow, if she had put her 24 into dexterity. Well, thank you all for watching and listening to me ramble on about some more ridiculous min-max and mismatched characters I've played as and played alongside. If you like this video, I have a small playlist of D&D stories, though if you're watching this on that playlist, you're probably already watched those. Well, I do have other D&D related Let's Plays. Dungeons & Dragons Heroes, Temples of Elemental Evil, GBA Eye of the Beholder, Dagger... Sorry, just saying that name makes me throw up a little in my mouth. And I'll be playing more D&D games on this channel, so feel free to subscribe, like some videos, and tell me about your experiences of out there characters in the comment section below. Hope you all had a laugh. even at my expense. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Cheers.